The sky above Earth's outer colony was red with fire. Smoke rose from the remains of what used to be a peaceful settlement. Human ships circled above, watching for enemy signals. Everyone was waiting for the next move. Inside the command center, a young pilot named Thomas sat with his helmet on his lap. His uniform was dusty, and his eyes were tired, but he was alert. A message had just arrived from the council. It was short and strange. They wanted him to go alone to the Varnari homeworld. Alone, he repeated to the officer in charge. Why would they send just one person after all this fighting the officer? A tall man with a steel voice handed him a small data crystal. Because the queen asked for you by name, Toma blinked. He had never met any of the Varnari. The war between their species had lasted for almost 5 years now. It began with a misunderstanding, then grew into attacks, counterattacks, and finally full war. Peace talks had failed 3 times, and now, after a major battle, the alien queen was asking to speak with one human, and that human was Toma. He was no diplomat, just a pilot, good at his job, but not special. Still, he didn't refuse. Orders were orders. 3 days later, Toma's ship entered Varnari space. The stars here looked colder. The Varnari world, called Solari, glowed pale. Blue from orbit, he had never seen a planet like it. Wide oceans, silver mountains, and lights that moved across the sky like rivers. It was beautiful, but strange. A message came through in a soft female voice. Human pilot, you are cleared to land. Follow the beacon. The queen awaits you. Toma followed the signal to a tall tower shaped like a spear rising from the ocean. The landing pad was silent. No guards, no weapons, no shouting. Just soft music in the wind. He stepped out of the ship and waited. A single Varnari female approached. She wore a long robe that shimmered like water. Her skin was light violet. Her eyes large and silver. She gave a small bow. I am Tora, servant of the queen. She will speak with you directly. Toma followed her through high halls filled with glowing plants and walls that seemed alive. The silence was strange, not cold, just quiet, peaceful, in a way he wasn't used to. Finally, they reached a wide chamber with a clear ceiling. Stars shone through it, and sitting on a simple stone seat at the far end was Queen Illyra. She looked different from what he expected. No crown, no armor, just a smooth white robe and a calm face. She looked at him with a sad kind of smile. Toma, she said softly, you came. Thank you. He stood tall. Why me, what is this about? Illyra looked at her guards and gave a gentle wave. They left the room at once. Only she and Toma remained. The silence grew heavier. I asked for you because you do not hate, she said. You fight, but you do not hate. That is rare. Toma said nothing. He had lost friends in this war. He had fought in hard battles. But hate he wasn't sure. He just wanted the war to end. She stood and walked slowly toward a wall she touched. A glowing panel. A door opened, revealing a dark path downward. I want to show you something, she said. Something hidden, something that may change everything. But I must warn you, when you hear it, you may hate me. Toma narrowed his eyes. What are you talking about? Illyra's face stayed calm, but her voice dropped low. You'll hate me after this, but you must know the truth. He looked at the open door. It led deep underground. His instinct told him to be careful, but something in her voice made him stay. It wasn't a trap. It was something else. Pain, maybe guilt, turned and began walking down the steps. He followed. The path was made of smooth stone. Faint lights glowed along the walls. They walked for several minutes without speaking. Finally, they reached a wide round room. In the center was a device unlike anything Toma had seen. This is a memory core, Illyra said. It holds images from our past, yours and mine, things lost to history. Toma looked at it. You brought me here for a history lesson. No, she said. I brought you here because the war is a lie. Those words made him pause. She stepped forward and placed her hand on the device. The room filled with light. Floating pictures appeared around them, strange symbols, old ships, cities he did not recognize. This is what they erased, she said. Your leaders, our leaders, together. The images began to move. Toma saw humans and Varnari working side by side, building something huge, a giant station in space. Then he saw a battle, fire, death, ships crashing, screams. "Why are you showing me this?" he asked. "Because long ago we were allies," Illyra said. "We built things together, explored together. Then we were told lies. We were told to forget." Toma shook his head. "I don't understand." Illyra looked at him, her eyes full of something heavy. "You will. But this is only the beginning. If you truly want peace, you must see all of it, even the part that will hurt." Toma stood in silence. The light from the memory core flickered. For the first time in a long time, he didn't know what to believe. The Queen had shown him something real, something powerful. But it also meant that everything he had fought for might have been based on something false. "I don't hate you," he said quietly. "Not yet," she nodded. "Then come back tomorrow. There's more." And with that, she left him alone in the chamber, surrounded by the ghost of a forgotten truth. The night passed slowly for Toma. He lay in the soft bed offered to him by the Varnari. But sleep would not come. His mind replayed everything Queen Illyra had shown him. The floating images, the calm sadness in her voice, the secret history of a time when humans and Varnari had stood side by side like friends. Was it real? Or was it just a clever trick? Toma had seen many traps during the war. Sometimes an enemy would pretend to surrender, only to strike. But Illyra had not tried to fool him. She had shown pain, not pride. And her words still echoed in his mind. "You'll hate me after this." Why had she said that? What was the secret she was hiding? The next morning, a soft sound woke him. It was Tora, the Queen's servant, standing by the doorway. Her voice was as quiet as the wind. "The Queen is ready for you." Toma rose without a word. He followed Tora through the smooth halls once more, past silver walls that seemed to hum with life. Other Varnari passed by but did not speak. Their eyes were calm, watching, but not unfriendly. When they reached the throne room again, Queen Illyra was already standing near the hidden door. This time, she was not alone. Two old Varnari scholars stood beside her, holding a large round device. Between them, it glowed faintly blue. "You came back," Illyra said. Her voice steady. "I want the truth," Toma said. "All of it." She gave a small nod and stepped aside. The door opened once more, and they descended into the hidden chamber. This time, the scholars followed, carrying the glowing device. When they reached the round room, the memory core was already lit. The floating images from yesterday still danced in the air. Illyra looked at Toma, her face serious. "Today I will show you what happened after our two races were divided," she said. In the hand behind the war, she motioned to the scholars. They placed the device on the floor and pressed several buttons. A soft hum filled the room, and new images appeared. Toma saw a great city in the stars. Humans and Varnari working together. Peace, trade. Even laughed. Earth. In the screen shifted, a new image appeared. A dark shadow, a shape with no face, only eyes. Watching from behind. "These are the Jinn," Illyra said. "A race without a home. They live by creating chaos. They feed on conflict. And long ago, they chose us as their next target." Toma stared. The Jinn did not look like any species he had seen. They had no real form, only shifting shapes and long limbs. "They move like smoke." "How do they do it?" he asked. "They lied to both of us," she said. "They whispered into our leaders' minds, gave false visions, showed us fake attacks." One by one, both sides began to believe that betrayal was near. The images showed human leaders in dark rooms, arguing. Some were afraid, others angry. They looked at maps and reports. Then came a strike, a fleet of ships attacking a Varnari base. No warning, no questions, just fire. "Your leaders were shown a false message," Illyra said. "One that looked like a threat from us. In truth, it was created by the Jinn." Toma felt a chill in his chest. The images showed the Varnari reacting next. They believed the attack was real. They struck back. "And so the war began all this time," he whispered. "We were fighting because of something fake." "Yes," Illyra said. "And those who knew the truth were silenced or erased." On both sides, one image showed a Varnari council member shouting about peace. A moment later, he was gone. Another showed a human admiral trying to stop a mission. He to disappear. Redema felt anger rising inside him, not at Illyria, but at those who had let this happen. So many lives lost, so many cities burned, and for what lies trickery? Why are you showing me this now? He asked. Illyria's face turned sad again. Because the Jinn are not done. They want more war, more death, and they are planning to strike again. But this time, we may not survive. Toma looked around the chamber. The images had stopped. Only silence remained. He took a deep breath. You said I might hate you, he said. But you didn't do this. You're trying to stop it. Illyria turned away. Her voice dropped low. There's more I have not told you. Something I carry. A choice I made. One that still haunts me. Toma stepped closer. What do you mean? I knew the truth years ago, she said. But I stayed silent. I thought if I waited, I could stop the Jinn without starting more fear. But I was wrong. I waited too long, and more people died. Toma listened. He saw the guilt in her eyes. She had made a mistake, a heavy one. But he also saw the courage it took to speak now. What do you want me to do? He asked. Illyria returned to him again. I want you to help me stop them. You saw the truth. You are not part of any council. You can move freely. If you speak, maybe your leaders will listen. He thought about it. It would be dangerous. Many would call him a traitor. Others might not believe him at all. But doing nothing felt worse. Where do we start? He stepped forward and placed a small chip in his hand. It glowed with a soft green light. This holds the full record. Take it back. Show your people. Warn them. And if they will not listen, come back. We will find another way. Toma nodded. He looked at the chip. It felt light in his hand. But he knew it carried a heavy truth. I'll do it, he said. But we're not done. I'll be back. Illyria smiled gently. I know. As he walked back through the halls, the truth burned in his mind. The war was built on lies. But maybe peace could be built on truth, and maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late to save both worlds. Toma sat alone inside his ship, staring at the chip the Queen had given him. The soft green glow pulsed like a slow heartbeat. It was quiet in space. But his mind was filled with noise. The images from the memory chamber played again in his thoughts. Humans and Varnari working as allies, the sudden fall, and the shadowy Jinn watching it all happen hadn't sent a message back to Earth yet. He wasn't sure how they would respond. The military didn't trust aliens, and many leaders still believed the Varnari were the enemy. If he told them the truth, would they listen, or would they call him a traitor? He tapped the chip against his palm and finally stood. He wasn't going back yet, not without proof strong enough to silence doubt. If this was the only copy, it could be ignored. But if there were more records, more places filled with memories and facts, he had to find them. Toma turned the ship around and sent a signal back to the Queen. I need more. Show me where it all began. The reply came quickly. Come to the Hall of Memory. I will meet you there. The Hall of Memory was on the far side of the Varnari planet, hidden deep within a valley of white trees and floating stones. The air smelled of flowers and something like rain. Toma landed his ship near a narrow path that led through the forest. Illyria waited near a large gate, carved from crystal. She wore a darker robe today, and her face was serious. No guards stood nearby. You really came, she said. I said I would, Toma replied. And I meant it. She nodded and turned toward the gate with a soft touch of her hand. It opened slowly. A soft blue light spilled out inside. The hall stretched far into the ground. Smooth floors reflected light like water. Along the walls stood tall glass panels, each filled with floating images, old recordings, and forgotten voices. The air was quiet, almost like a whisper. This place holds everything we were meant to remember, Illyria said. But even we forgot. The Jinn made sure of that. Toma walked slowly, reading strange symbols and watching flickers of the past. One panel showed a group of humans handing tools to Varnari builders. Another showed a council meeting where both sides stood in agreement. They weren't enemies then. They were partners. Stopped in front of a large display. It showed a space station under construction, massive in size. Lights blinked along its surface like stars. What is this? He asked. That was the Arc Tower, Illyria said. A joint project, a city in space meant to help all species travel together. We built it side by side, but it was never finished. What happened? The Jinn attacked. But they made it look like we attacked each other. The humans believed. We betrayed them. We believed the same Thomas' hands curled into fists. So much effort. So much hope. All of it destroyed by a lie. I need copies of these records, he said. I'll take them back. I'll make them see. Lyra looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. I thought you might say that. There's one more place you need to see. The place where the truth was buried deep as Toma raised an eyebrow. What place? The Vault of Silence. The journey to the vault took hours. They traveled in a small Varnari craft through thick clouds and across wild terrain. Mountains shaped like twisted spires rose around them. At last, they reached a dark canyon. A wide door was set into the rock, half covered in vines and stone. No one has entered for years, Illyra said. Even I need special code to unlock it. Why is it sealed? Because it holds knowledge that some wanted to forget, things that could destroy powerful names, not just in secrets, but our own mistakes. Toma followed her as she pressed a hand against the door. Lights flashed, then faded. With a deep sound, the door began to slide open inside. It was cold and still. Dust floated in the air. Old machines lined the walls, and faded banners hung from the ceiling. In the center was a large platform with a single glowing cube. Lyra stepped forward and lifted the cube. It glowed with a strong, steady light. This is the master file. It contains every record of the early alliance, every plan, every message, every lie told to break it. Toma stared at it. This was the proof he needed. Not just a single file, but a complete history. Suddenly, a noise echoed through the vault. A sharp hum. Then a voice that found us, Illyra said quickly from the shadows. Dark shapes began to move, tall and thin, like shadows come alive. The Genoni of them stepped forward. Its body flickered like smoke, and its voice came from nowhere. You should not have come here. Toma pulled out his sidearm. Illyra raised her hand. They do not fear weapons. Run. We must get the cube too. The surface. Toma didn't argue. He grabbed the cube and ran. Illyra followed close behind. The Shin moved fast, gliding across the ground like waves back through the canyon. Through rocks and falling ash, they ran. Toma stumbled once, but held the cube tight. Illyra used her control ring to call the ship when they reached the landing site. Tushin blocked their path. Illyra raised her hand, and a flash of light burst from her ring. The Shin hissed and fell back. Toma leaped into the pilot's seat. Illyra climbed in after him. Go, she said. Ship rose just as Morjan appeared from the canyon. Toma took them high into the sky, shaking with breath. The cube glowed in his laugh. Looked at Illyra. They know what we're doing now. She nodded. Yes, and they will try to stop you. But now you hold something they fear. The sky grew quiet again as the ship flew above the clouds. Toma looked at the stars ahead and whispered to himself, we're not enemies. Not anymore. The stars outside the ship were calm, but Toma's heart was not. He sat beside Queen Illyra as they flew far above the clouds of the Varnari world. In his hands, he held the glowing cube from the Vault of Silence. Inside it were the full records of a past long buried, the truth about the alliance between humans and Varnari, the lies that ended it, and the shadows that caused the. Where Illyra sat quietly, her eyes focused on the stars. Her face was tired, but her voice stayed steady. They will not stop now. Vision will come after us. They know we hold the truth, and they fear it. Toma nodded. Then we take it home. I'll show it to the High Command. They'll have to believe when they see this. The Queen looked at him. You must be careful. They may not want to believe. Truth is not always welcome, even when it is clear. Toma knew she was right. He had served long enough to understand how leaders worked. Some wanted power more than peace. Some were proud, and others were afraid. Still, he had to try. I'm ready, he said. We leave now. They returned to his ship at the Varnari Tower. Toma loaded the cube into the storage bay with care. Before he left, Illyra handed him a small disc. This will allow me to contact you directly, she said. If the path becomes hard, I'll guide you. Toma placed the disc near his control panel and looked at her. You're not coming with me. No, she said. If I go, they will think it's a trick. But if you return alone, they may listen. One voice, one truth. That is how change begins. Toma gave a short nod. I'll come back. I promise. The Queen smiled softly. I believe you. The hatch closed, and his ship lifted from the platform as the Varnari capital faded behind him. Toma set a direct course for Earth's central station. Truth was now his to carry 2 days later. Toma's ship entered Earth's orbit. He was met by patrol cruisers. At once identify yourself. A voice called through the comms. This is Pilot Toma, returning from Varnari space under special mission code. There was a pause. Then another voice spoke. Your code is no longer valid. You are ordered to dock for questioning. Toma didn't argue. He expected this. Docking bay was full of guards. As he stepped out of his ship, 2 officers moved forward. You've been gone longer than expected. One of them said, "Where's your report?" Toma held up the dated chip first. This was from the Queen. It's important. But this, he lifted the glowing cube next. This is what matters now. It's proof of everything, and you need to see it. The guards looked confused. You'll give your report to the High Command. Follow us inside the large military station. Toma stood before a group of senior officers. Their faces were hard and unreadable. Some wore medals, others had battle scars. General Roran, the head of Earth's defense fleet, sat at the center. Toma placed the cube on the table. This holds records from the Vault of Silence. It shows that the war with the Varnari was not their doing. It was started by false information. Lies planted by a third race. The officers exchanged glances. One of them scoffed. A third race? You expect us to believe that after 5 years of blood and loss? I've seen it. Toma said firmly. They showed me proof. They shouldn't feed on war. They push both sides into fighting. They're still out there, and they're watching us. General Roran leaned forward. And why would the Varnari give you this now? Why trust a human pilot? Toma's voice stayed calm. Because Queen Illyra wants peace. She knows the Jin will strike again, and neither side is ready. If we keep fighting each other, we'll fall when they come. The room was silent. Then Roran gave a small wave, and the cube was taken to be. Scan, you'll remain on the station while we review this, the general said. Until then, no communication with the Varnari. Understood? Toma gave a short nod. Understood, but deep inside, he knew this would not be easy. Hours passed. Toma was placed in a secure room with no window. He could not leave, but no one treated him badly. Still, the silence was heavy. Sat with the Queen's disc in his hand. He knew it could open a connection to her, but he also knew that if he used it now, they would see it. They would call it betrayal. Waited. The next morning, the door opened. A young officer entered, holding a tablet. They're still reviewing the data. But something happened. A satellite station near Mars sent a distress signal. It was destroyed completely. No trace of enemy ships, just wreckage. Toma stood quickly. The officer looked unsure. The energy signatures didn't match anything we know. Some think it was a Varnari trap. No, Toma said. It wasn't. The are trying to stop the truth from spreading, and they'll do it again. The officer hesitated, then leaned closer. I believe you. I saw part of the cube's records. The things in there, they're real. I'll help you. Toma felt a wave of relief. Then we need to get that message out. We need everyone to see it that night. Toma and the officer reached the main broadcast tower. With the officer's help, he plugged the cube into the core system. The light from the cube spread across the screen, and the memory files began to play. Images of peace footage of betrayal, proof of the Jin's lesson at the end. A message from Queen Illyra. We remember now. We choose peace. Let truth guide your hearts. The broadcast spread fast. Ships across the system picked it up. Colonies watched it. Varnari stations received it too. And for the first time, the truth was open. Toma stood before the screen, his heart steady. He had done his part. Now the rest was up to them. Back on Solari, Queen Illyra stood on a high balcony, watching the stars. Her assistant came running. The humans, they shared it, the whole message. It's everywhere. Illyra closed her eyes. Then hope still lives far away in the dark space between stars. The Jin moved in silence, but now both worlds had seen the truth, and together they would face the true enemy. The message from the Vault of Silence had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. For the first time, the truth was out. Humans and Varnari everywhere were talking, wondering, questioning the history they had been told. Many felt shock, others disbelief. but all were aware that something important had changed. Toma sat quietly in a conference room on Earth's central command station. Around him were representatives from both human and Varnari forces. The room was large, lit with soft white light, but the tension inside was thick like a storm waiting to break. General Roran, sitting at the head of the table, looked tired. His voice was firm. "We all know what we have seen. The Jin have lied to us, pushed us into war. But now we have proof. The question is, what do we do with it?" A Varnari council member, tall and calm, spoke next. "Peace is possible, but it will not come easily. Old wounds run deep. Many will resist change." Toma looked around the table. He saw faces hardened by battle, filled with doubt and fear. But he also saw hope. "I don't have all the answers," Toma said slowly. "But I know this: we can't keep fighting each other. They shouldn't want us weak, divided. If we join together, maybe we can stop them." The room fell silent. A human diplomat finally spoke. "What do you suggest?" Toma took a deep breath. "A joint task force. Humans and Varnari working side by side again. Not just in words, but in action. We need to share intelligence, coordinate defenses, and prepare for whatever they should do next." General Roran nodded. "It's a risk, but it might be our only choice." Outside the meeting room, the news had reached the public, across cities and colonies. People watched the broadcast that showed the history, the lies, and the warning. Many cried for the lost lives, many hoped for peace. Toma stepped outside the station. The cold wind brushed his face, and he looked up at the stars. For years, these stars had been distant enemies, but now they felt different, as if they might be a guide instead. Suddenly, his comm beeped. It was the Queen's voice, soft but strong. "Toma, you are doing well. The first step is always the hardest. I wish you were here." Toma said quietly, "I will be." When the time is right, days passed, and the joint task force began to take shape. Humans and Varnari trained together, shared technology, and planned missions. Old rivalries surfaced, but were slowly replaced by understanding. They shared stories, customs, even meals. One evening, Toma found himself in the training hall, watching a group of young Varnari and human soldiers sparring. Their movements were different, but their goal was the same. A young Varnari soldier named Luno approached him. "You brought us hope," he said. Toma smiled. "We brought it together." But the peace was fragile. Warnings came from the edge of known space. Small outposts reported strange energy pulses, signs of activity. The task force prepared to respond. One night, Toma was on the bridge of the flagship with Illyra by his side. The stars outside blinked as sensors detected a cluster of dark ships approaching. "The Jin," Illyra said calmly. "They are stronger than ever." Toma replied. The flagship moved forward. Both human and Varnari ships gathered. The task force was ready to fight not each other, but a common enemy. The battle was fierce. The Jin ships moved like shadows, hard to target. Their weapons were strange, disrupting shields and communications. But the joint task force fought with unity and courage. Toma led a squadron that struck at the Jin's command ship. The fighting was close, tense. Explosions rocked the ship, but Toma pressed on. Inside the enemy's ship, the Jin leader appeared. "Dan, ever-shifting form of dark light. You cannot stop us," it hissed. "We are the chaos that rules this galaxy." Toma held his ground. "Chaos ends when we stand together." With a final strike, the command ship was destroyed. The Jin forces retreated into the darkness, their shadows fading. The battle won. The task force regrouped. The victory was small but meaningful. It proved that together they could stand against even the darkest threats. In the days that followed, the alliance between humans and Varnari grew stronger. Trade resumed, cities rebuilt, stories of old enemies becoming friends spread across worlds. One night, as Toma looked at the twin moons of the Varnari planet, Illyra joined him. "We have a long way to go," she said, "but today, we have hope." Toma nodded. "Together, we will protect our future." The stars above twinkled, no longer distant enemies, but witnesses to a new beginning. The victory over the Jin had brought hope, but it had not brought peace. Though humans and Varnari worked together now, old fears still lingered like shadows that refused to fade. Toma stood on the observation deck of the flagship, looking out. At the stars, the fleet was quiet tonight, but his thoughts were loud. He knew the Jin were out there, watching, waiting for a chance to strike again. But he also felt something else, unease among his own people. The alliance was new, and not everyone believed in it. Some officers on Earth's side whispered about betrayal. Some Varnari still doubted the humans. Rumors spread quickly, and Toma heard them in the halls, in the mess, even in his own quarters. One morning, as he walked through the ship, a group of human soldiers stopped him. Their leader, a tall man with a harsh face, spoke sharply. "We don't trust this alliance," he said. "The Varnari helped start the war. How do we know they won't do it again?" Toma looked at him calmly. "Because the Varnari want peace just as much as we do. We have proof now. The Jin lied to us all. We have to move forward, together." The soldiers exchanged doubtful glances, but said no more. Later, Toma met with Alira in the command room. She looked tired but steady. "The Jin use fear as a weapon," she said. "If they cannot fight us openly, they will try to break us from inside." Toma nodded. "We need to show our people that we are united." But how? Alira thought for a moment. By facing the next challenge together. That challenge came faster than they expected. A distress call came from a remote mining colony on a small moon, near the edge of their controlled space. The message was faint but urgent: strange creatures attacking, systems failing, and no help. Nearby. Toma volunteered to lead the rescue mission. The joint task force prepared quickly. Loading supplies and weapons, humans and Varnari stood side by side, ready to fight for the colony's survival. The journey was tense. No one knew what awaited them. When they arrived, the scene was worse than expected. The colony was damaged, lights flickering, strange tracks were on the ground, and the air smelled of something cold and sharp. Suddenly, dark figures moved in. The shadows, creatures unlike anything Toma had seen. Their bodies were twisted, covered in strange armor that shimmered like oil. They attacked swiftly and without mercy. The joint soldiers fought bravely, using their combined skills. Humans, with their advanced weapons and tactics, Varnari with their strange energy powers. Slowly, they pushed the creatures back. In the chaos, Toma spotted one creature dragging a wounded miner into a tunnel. Without hesitation, he followed. Inside the tunnel, the air was thick and dark. The creature turned to face him, its eyes glowing, bright. But Toma raised his weapon calmly. "Why are you attacking us?" he asked. "Who sent you?" The creature hissed but did not answer. It lunged forward, but before it could strike, Alira appeared. She moved with speed and grace, her hands glowing with light that made the creature stumble back. "You don't have to fight," she said softly. "There is still time to stop this." The creature hesitated, then vanished into the shadows. Toma helped the miner to safety. "What was that?" he asked Alira. "I do not know," she replied. "But they are not Jin. Something new. Something dangerous." Back at the colony, the task force gathered. The leader of the miners, a woman named Kira, thanked them. "We don't know what those creatures were, but they came from the old tunnels below the surface. We thought the tunnels were sealed." Toma frowned. "We need to explore those tunnels. Find out what's causing this." Alira nodded. "Agreed. If these creatures are a new threat, we must understand them before they grow stronger." The next days were filled with exploration. Teams of humans and Varnari went into the tunnels, mapping the dark passages. They found strange symbols carved into the walls and signs of ancient technology long forgotten. One night, as Toma rested, his comm beeped. It was a message from Alira. "Meet me at the northern tunnel entrance, urgent." Toma arrived quickly. Alira was standing by the tunnel, her face serious. "I found something," she said. "A hidden chamber deep inside. It holds answers." Together, they entered the tunnel. The air grew colder as they went deeper. Finally, they reached a large door covered with glowing symbols. Alira placed her hand on the door, and it slowly opened. Inside, they found a room filled with strange machines and crystals. A holographic message flickered to life. The image was old but clear of Varnari scientists speaking. "Our discovery is a warning," the scientist said. "Deep beneath the surface lies a prison for creatures we do not fully understand. They were locked away long ago to protect us all. But the seals are weakening." Thomas' heart pounded. "So the creatures attacking the colony are prisoners who escaped?" "Yes," Alira said. "And if we do not stop it, more will come." The situation grew urgent. The Joint Task Force began working to strengthen the seals and prepare defenses. But the rumors and distrust among their own people grew louder. Some humans wanted to abandon the alliance and focus on Earth's safety. Some Varnari feared their own ancient secrets might destroy them. Toma knew that if they failed to unite fully, the new threat would destroy them all. He met with General Roran and Varnari leaders. "We must stand as one," he said, "not just in battle, but in trust. Our strength is in our unity." The leaders looked tired but agreed. On the night before the final mission to seal the prison, Toma stood with Alira on a hill overlooking the stars. "We have come far," he said, "but the fight is not over." Alira smiled softly. "The darkest shadows teach us to value the light. Together, we will protect what we love." Toma nodded. "For peace, for future." The stars above shone bright, like silent promises. The dawn broke over the Varnari world, casting soft light across the hills and the dark tunnels below. Toma stood at the entrance to the ancient prison, flanked by human and Varnari soldiers. Their faces showed determination, but also worry. This mission was more than a battle. It was a chance to protect their future. Alira stood beside him, her calm presence a steady light in the tense morning. She had prepared the group with her knowledge and strength. Now, the moment had come. "The seals are weak," Alira said quietly. "If we fail, the creatures trapped below will escape and bring destruction." Toma looked around at the soldiers. "We fight for peace, for the families above, for the stars we watch every night." The soldiers nodded, their fears replaced by resolve. Inside the tunnels, the air was cold and thick. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls, reminders of a time long past. The team moved carefully, weapons ready but hoping not to need them. Alira led with her light, guiding the way. Suddenly, the ground shook from the darkness ahead. Twisted shapes moved, the creatures from the colony. They hissed and charged, their eyes glowing with anger and fear. The battle was fierce. Humans and Varnari fought side by side, covering each other, sharing tactics. Toma fired his weapon with steady hands, while Alira used her energy to protect. In Hildad, as the fight went on, Toma saw one creature separate from the rest. It moved slower, as if confused or in pain. He lowered his weapon and stepped forward. "We do not want to hurt you," he said calmly. "You were trapped here, but you don't have to fight." The creature hesitated, then made a sound that was almost like a sigh. Slowly, it backed away and disappeared into the shadows. The team pushed forward to the prison chamber. There, ancient machines hummed faintly, the source of the seals that held the creatures locked away. But the machines were failing. Alira stepped to the controls, her hands glowing as she connected with the energy of the crystals around them. Toma helped secure the area, watching the tunnel for danger. Minutes passed like hours. Then the seals began to glow brighter, the ancient machines humming stronger. Suddenly, the tunnel shook again. A deep roar echoed through the cave. From the darkness, a massive creature appeared. It was larger than any before, its body covered in thick armor plates. Its eyes burned with fury. Toma stood firm. "We must hold the line," he shouted. The soldiers formed a circle, weapons raised. Alira focused her energy, sending waves of light that slowed the creature's advance. Toma moved closer, searching for a way to end the fight. He saw a weak spot on the creature's armor, a glowing crystal embedded near its chest. With a swift move, Toma aimed and fired. The crystal shattered, and the creature let out a final roar before collapsing. With the main threat defeated, the seals stabilized. The remaining creatures retreated deeper into the prison, no longer aggressive. The team gathered, exhausted but victorious. Alira turned to Toma. We have saved many lives today. But this is only the beginning. Toma nodded. We will rebuild trust. We will protect this peace. Back on the surface, the news of the victory spread quickly. Humans and Varnari alike celebrated. The Joint Task Force had proven its strength, not only in battle, but in unity. At a ceremony held in the capital, Toma stood before a crowd of thousands. He spoke simply, but from the heart. We fought together against the darkness, and together we won. Let this be a new chapter for all of us, a chapter where we do not fear each other, but stand as one. The crowd cheered. Varnari and humans raised their hands together in a promise. Later, alone with Illyra under the stars, Toma felt a quiet joy he had never known. Thank you, he said, for trusting me, for believing in peace. Illyra smiled. It was not just me. It was all of us. Together, we changed our fate. Toma looked up at the sky. The stars seemed closer now, full of hope and promise. The war was over. The truth had been found. The future was theirs too. Build to the end.